I'm Dylan.
And I'm Marcus.
And welcome to Dillmark. Today, the topic that I want to talk about is athletes who are caught doping. Should they have their medals and trophies taken away? I think they should, because they're dishonoring the sport, the other teammates, and personally, the people who are watching it, because they're not getting the fairness that they should be watching.
Yeah.
So, what's your view on the topic?
I agree that they're dishonoring the other players that they play with and the sport, but I do not believe that they should get their medals and trophies taken away, because they still earned those even if they are doping and giving themselves an advantage.
Mm-hmm. So, the thing about them having their trophies and medals taken away, I think that they should be taken away, but only if there's a deep investigation where they go through, and if they find evidence of them doping when they got those medals and trophies, then they can be taken away.
Yeah, because there's also like different things that they can be taking that are just like certain things give you a real advantage, while there's other things maybe they did some hard partying, I don't know, like a week before, and it'll still be in their system and they'll be disqualified for it, when it really doesn't give them any advantage in the sport at all, when it was just something that they were doing on their own.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point. But I mean, if we're talking about like, if this is set like 10 years ago, unless it was for medical reasons, those type of drugs were not allowed for people to have. Yeah.
Stuff.
And anything like 10 years ago, marijuana and harder than that, it would be illegal anyways.
I mean, at that time, marijuana was in the highest class of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So harder than that is like the hardest drugs possible, in all honesty.
So it's also found that 1 to 2% of athletes who are tested for doping are caught doping. So even if they have their trophies and medals taken away, it's not going to be a high amount to where it's going to bring this great rising where people get all mad over and all that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like some people would still get mad because there's like, I feel like it is those top, which it's not every top like performer in a sport, but a lot of those top people use those performance enhancing drugs to help themselves. So, I mean, I feel like it would still cause some type of outrage based on somebody getting, like, let's say, disqualified from a sport because people are like, that's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that is a fair point. But it's also the fact that I think usually mentally in statistics, usually what researchers find is that people, when they find out that their favorite athlete is caught doping, they'll be more upset at the athlete than the organization, but then they direct that anger towards the organization because they don't want to direct it towards the athlete that they've been loving for a long time.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I feel like there are definitely cases where people go after athletes, but I'd agree with that. They probably do direct it more towards the organization, like a lot. And that's not just with the doping, it seems to be with like everything that, because athletes do a lot of dumb stuff, okay? Like a lot of things that they shouldn't do. So there are a lot of times where people have problems with an athlete and it does get taken out on an organization as a whole, like a competitor of that athlete.
Another thing that I want to bring up was usually when these athletes are caught doping, if it's not by a test that they tested positive for, usually it's by the people close to them. and usually when that person catches them, they try to help them, so that not only has a toll on the athlete but also has a toll on the person trying to help them, like both mentally.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really expect somebody to do anything different about that. They don't want their own family member, significant other, or just lifelong friend. Like, they don't want them disqualified from a sport that they professionally play in,
Yeah.
or that they even make money in. Because a lot of these athletes, like I said, are the top athletes out there in these sports that are making a lot of money just being a part of the sport.
I mean, there's good points to both sides, but I think that, you know, there's more evidence and more like supporting facts that would lead people to believe that they should have their medals and trophies taken away. Like, it's such a huge thing nowadays.
I feel like a big part of what it could be is like the drugs that they are taking, like even in the area of performance enhancing drugs, because there are things that maybe they're taking for like a recovery, because a lot of athletes, they get injured and they have to take certain things and it speeds up the recovery. And there's a lot of athletes that might want to use that even while they're getting ready for whatever sport they're trying to do. But,
no, you're good. We can keep that in.
Okay, but yeah, where was I going with that? So when it comes to like certain drugs, it could be less of a penalty. While other drugs, maybe they just actually do get their everything taken away. But certain ones, maybe it could just be like a disqualification.
Yeah.
Or just a I can't think of the word.
Yeah.
What's the word?
I
What's
get
the word?
I get what you're talking about. So that is a good point. Like, the higher level the drug, the more consequence that there is.
Yeah.
That is a good point. I mean, usually what they do is they take samples of these doping drugs that athletes are taking, if they catch them with it, and they run them through tests, like multiple different samples of all these different types of drugs, and they'll find one common chemical in between all of them, and then when they're testing that person for when they're doping, they'll look for that certain chemical in their system.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, there's definitely a good way. There's definitely good sides to both arguments, but I mean, I personally think that their medals and trophies should be taken away. I know that you feel like that they shouldn't. But y'all should tell us what you think down in the comments below. Tell us, do you think that they should have their medals and trophies taken away? I'm Dylan Brown.
And I'm Marcus Burns.
And this is Dillmark.